Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Lorden Arts channel. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today as we talk about missing person scams. Now, you might think, well, I don't have a missing loved one in my family, so this isn't going to necessarily apply to me. And you would actually be wrong. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We're going to start with talking about one of the more traditional things that happen, which does affect these families directly. This is a post actually put out by the FBI. It's a public service announcement from May of 2021. Scammers target families who post missing persons on social media. The FBI warns the public of scammers seeking to extort family members of missing persons. These actors identify missing persons through social media posts and gather information about the missing person and family to legitimize their ransom demands without ever having physical contact with the missing person. I've heard of several examples of this with families that I've worked with directly. I warn all of them about this. It happens that often. At some point, this family is usually going to get contacted. It actually is a little upsetting in some ways to think about me doing my job and trying to give in-depth coverage in terms of those cases and what's happening in those cases, trying to help them, and knowing that someone could be watching that and then getting information that they're using against this family to try to extort them out of money. How does it happen? Well, scammers use social media to target the victims. We know that. I mean, that happens in all kinds of different ways on social media. But this is specifically about vulnerable families, and they don't quite know the scope of it. They have enough instances to know it's a problem, but it's not like we have stats on this. The scammers often obtain telephone numbers for the family members on social media and use third-party calling or messaging apps to make ransom demands to disguise the true telephone number of the caller. That's something with missing persons cases that even if you do have a family member that offers their personal contact information, 99% of the time I will not post it. I don't want that information exposed. And typically with these cases, there is a law enforcement contact. So there's really not a great need for that call to go into the family directly. Having that law enforcement contact be kind of the first line of defense might help, help the family avoid some of the problems that we're talking about with this particular post. The criminal actor generally requests between $5,000 and $10,000 in ransom, with $7,000 requested in multiple instances. In one instance, an accomplice made telephone calls to family members claiming to be the missing person. I don't know how people could do this to people that are hurting so badly. Just to try to steal money from them. It's really terrible. Offenders often claim the missing person is ill or injured, adding to the urgency of the situation and putting additional pressure on family members to pay the ransom. If you believe that you are or someone you know is a target or victim of an extortion attempt related to a missing person, of course, contact your local law enforcement agency or your local FBI field office. I'd say contact them both. You can file a complaint online with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. That website is www.ic3.gov. Keep that website in mind, because anytime someone's trying to extort you over the internet, not just in these cases about, possibly being a family dealing with a missing person, you can file complaints through that, ic3.gov. Victims are encouraged to keep all of the original documentation, emails, text messages, and logs of communication with the subject. Don't delete anything before law enforcement is able to review it. And be sure to tell law enforcement everything about the online encounters. They know it might be embarrassing, especially for the parent or the missing person, but it's necessary that they have all the information that they can to try to make sure they have every mechanism available to find these offenders. So that's kind of what I hear families go through way too often, unfortunately. What about you guys? How could a missing persons case or another emergency of that nature be affecting you or possibly the people you care about? Over here at ky3.com is a post. Some of you might be looking at this saying, I remember that. Do you remember when there was that girl that was found wandering behind the apartment? Remember there was that post that said, I can't find her parents. Please help me find her parents. And they even had a picture of the girl. well, those posts could lead to some trouble for your friends, actually, if you share them. How? Let's get into all this. Over at CBS 6 Albany, unusual post about missing child going around social media is a scam. The Bennington Police Department posted a message on its Facebook page warning people about a post causing concern that's been going around social media. The scam reads, "Found this girl wandering behind our apartment today. Cannot find her parents and my neighbors are clueless how she got here. Please help me find her parents, good people." Many of these same posts have the same caption, but sometimes they will use different pictures of different girls in it. Sanjay Goel, professor and chair information security and digital forensics at University at Albany, says on face value, the scam could be simply a hoax made by someone who's looking for attention or trying to cause hysteria, but he cautions that this sort of post could also conceal other more harmful intentions. For some reasons, they do it for market manipulation. In some other cases, they would put this information out to make people click on links, which obviously have malicious code associated with that. So, of course, they can have some bad links in the post. But he's saying, and in the third case, they can use it for extorting money. And in this particular example, they're thinking more along the lines of you send out this message, and then all of a sudden there's follow-up communication that we found this girl's home, but we need to drive her there. We need some gas money. Send it to my Venmo or something along those lines. It actually gets a degree worse than that. Unbelievably. Let's go ahead and continue with another article over at cowboystatedaily.com. Wyoming missing person authorities warn of online missing teen scam. This one published November 14th, 2022. Desiree Tinoco, founder of Missing People of Wyoming, said what began as one scam involving a missing teenage boy has spiraled out of control. Tinoco became aware of it after sharing a post for a missing teen named Tyler Buckland by a Facebook user named Kelly. A user pointed out to Tinoco that the same post later morphed into a banking scam. So essentially, she hits, share this post. It's about a missing kid. And then someone goes back and edits the post, and all of a sudden it changes into some kind of, in this case, a banking scam, get rich quick scheme. They could even change it into an ad that looks like it's a legit business or for a legit product. And then people go click on that, and all of a sudden they've given their personal information to someone that's going to do something terrible with it. A post with Tyler's photo and story showed up again on another local Casper social media site. This time his name was Tyler Tommy, and reportedly it had been shared by Leah Tommy, who claimed to be his mom. Think about that. I mean, how often do I see posts where it's, hey, my child is missing. Here's a photo. We need to raise awareness. It happens practically on a daily basis. Of course, I understand that I'm kind of wired into this type of community. For other people, maybe they're not as stringent about that. I got to tell you guys personally, when I go looking through my Twitter feed and people are trying to hoop me in for, hey, John, we need retweets on this. Let's help raise awareness on this particular case. I always go and do a search and find independent news articles that are verifying that that is an actual missing person. About 25% of the time, I'll find that they're not missing any longer. Thankfully, usually found safe. 70% of the time, I will find another article that says, yes, they are a missing person. Once again, I still keep in mind, if I'm looking at that post and it's saying, here's my personal phone number, give me a call if you see my daughter. I'm probably not going to share that version of it, but then I will go find the website that has the information with law enforcement's contact information, and then I share that. And in about 5% of the cases, I can't find any information to back it up, and I don't retweet them. Sometimes I'll actually add them to my missing persons tracker, and I'll check back later and see if there's any articles about that person, and then I can go and share it at that point. It's weird because you wouldn't think about this. I mean, you're scrolling through on your phone, you're thinking, oh, I'm being helpful to someone. This is someone that's in trouble. They're trying to find their child. Boom, repost. Not everyone thinks, okay, I'm going to take the extra time that it's going to take to research this out, make sure this is legit before I repost it. I totally get that. I grew to learn enough about what I was experiencing with retweeting and reposting in this area that I was like, okay, I can't let that happen again. I got to go ahead and double check these before I repost them. So they had this other instance, Tyler Tommy, supposedly posted by his mother, Leah. The story was almost the same. And what they're doing in these posts in particular is they're turning the comments off. And that's an important step because when they go and change the post, they can't have the comments under it say, hey, John, you reposted this and now it's an online banking scam, because then I'll catch wind of it and I'll go ahead and pull the post down. So they disable comments. Maybe that's another indicator for you. If you're seeing a post and the comments have been disabled and it's about something like this, maybe you don't want to retweet it or repost it without doing a quick check. Once in place, this post basically gets manually changed, and all of a sudden it points towards some type of online phishing scheme. The schemes range from fake rentals or real estate offers to any number of other scams. You guys know, basically they connected up to all the other types of scams that you would see online. It's just this is their new entry point. Upsetting as it should be to all of us that they would use a story of a missing person to do something like that. From the post on her page, Tinoco has identified the bots as originating from Russia, Africa, and India. The Wyoming Division of Criminal Investigations, which runs the statewide missing persons database, said it's aware of the scam. We started hearing about the scams going around with a missing person attached to it, said Katie Koselkowski, DCI Control Terminal Specialist and Manager of the Missing Persons Clearinghouse. Vigilance is key. Check your sources before you share someone's missing person flyers. It takes the average person 5 minutes to verify if the case is still active. I've done it enough to tell you guys it's way less than that. Bring up Google, put in the missing person's name, put the word missing after it, click the news tab. That's it. Typically, it probably takes me 30 seconds to do a check before I go back and then decide if I'm going to repost, retweet, how I'm going to try to help there. People aren't aware what they're sharing and think they're doing something good. That's the most alarming thing about this particular scam is they are preying on people's good intentions, which is unbelievable, but of course, right? It's the internet. So that's it. Just wanted to share that information with you guys, talk a little bit about how families are approached by scammers. And I'm going to keep beating that drum. And any family that asks for help from me, they're going to hear about that aspect of it because I've heard of it happening way too often. But know that you're also potentially part of this chain where someone is using a story that grabs at your heart and all of a sudden they're trying to make a channel to your friend's wallet. So you might want to keep an eye out for that. Take care, everyone. I'll be back on Friday with a brand new episode of Brain Scratch right here on the Lord and Arts channel.